Over the years, I was getting phone calls from Stanley Kubrick, probably from the late 1980s, about some technical question here or there, and it was always really neat to pick up a phone and there's Stanley here, and it would come out of nowhere. And then I got a call one time saying, you know, he's got this project that interested in doing, and he wanted me to come over to England and take a look at it and talk to him about it. And we had just finished Jurassic Park at that time, and I said, sure, at that time. And I said, sure, that was great. And ILM was nice enough to pay our way over there, and Ned Gorman, my producer, went over with me at the time, and we spent a Thanksgiving day with Stanley Kubrick. And it was very nice. He'd set up this wonderful turkey dinner for us and all. And we managed to stay on California time, and he was very charming. It was really a really wonderful evening. A great 5 hours I'll never forget. He'd been thinking about this project called AI, is what he told us, for quite a while, and it involved a robot boy. And he wasn't sure how to make this main character in the movie, if it should be an animatronic character, or if it could be possibly a real character with makeup on, or if it could be computer graphics. And when he's seen the work in Jurassic Park, he thought, boy, maybe there's an opportunity to use some new technology. So I showed him a lot of the work we had done in Jurassic, and he spent, you know, an hour or two asking me a ton of questions about visual effects. He had a clipboard with him and a whole list of questions, and just sort of went right through that list, one by one, asking about, you know, how do you do this, how do you do that, do you think you should try something this way, or whatever. And he was not terribly forthcoming on the story. I knew about the robot boy, and I knew about New York being flooded. He had a piece of artwork he had done at that time, maybe a couple of them that had been done.
And cut. Cut it.
I had been hearing in the rumor mill that Stephen had been approached or something about AI. I didn't even know Stephen had been talking to Stanley. And then I got a call from Stephen saying, you know, can you come down for a meeting? And I think, you know, I'm going to do this AI film. And I just couldn't believe it.
He was on this.
And when I got down there, Stephen showed me probably hundreds, maybe 1,000 pieces of artwork. And all during that time, I was still getting calls from Stanley every week or every month about questions, but never telling me specifically what the shots were about, but just questions about effects. And I could see where he was leading to. You know, he was trying to get information on how to do this work.
Okay, here we go.
One of the things that I was excited about doing the show with Stephen was we will actually get the movie made.
Okay, here we go, let's shoot it.
Because I didn't know Stanley was ever going to get it made. And with Stephen doing it, boy, we can do it. And having worked with him so long, I know we communicate pretty well about how to do it.
Hey, Stephen, remember we talked about sort of one swipe? Yep. If it's outside of the camera range and there's one swipe across.
So let's just spread ourselves out over the whole thing.
One of the things we'd done on the film was to have on the set a pre-visualization system. You could actually see pretty close to the finished shot as you were shooting the actual foreground actors in front of the blue screen. So the cameraman would see the actors in front of the blue screen, but on a TV monitor at that point we would see the actual composite. We'd see the characters in the background. And that would give Stephen an idea about new shots, because he's not looking with an actor in front of a blue screen anymore. He's looking at a scene with the actor in front of the synthetic environment. And the system we set up was something that the cameraman could pick the camera up and do a handheld shot, walk around like you would as a documentary, find the camera angles anywhere you want, and you would always see the same view that he saw as though the buildings were actually there. So it gave Stephen a tremendous sense of freedom to be inspired. We had targets around, primarily on the ceiling, that were bar-coded, and we had probably about 800 of them. Each one had its own separate identity, and they were being looked at by a camera. And then the software in the computer could identify which barcode fit with which place. So as you pan the camera around, it knew in the computer world where the computer camera was looking around. And they matched up perfectly. And then we could generate in the computer what the buildings looked like, and then do essentially a video composite of the blue screen with this CG background. The movie, you know, encompasses essentially, you know, this contemporary environment that you sort of see for the first part of the film, inside the home when David's growing up and all, getting you set up then for the next kind of surprise when you get out of that world and you see that it's a different city. You know, you're way in the future, it's obvious, and the fabulous Rouge City stuff. And then after we leap to 2,000 years in the future, you know, the movie's about AI, but by the end of the film, we're essentially making it. You know, the movie is mostly synthetic, and AI actually becomes how we're making the movie. We're starting out contemporary, ending up totally artificially in the future.